I clutched my smart water bottle tightly, staring at my parents across the sleek glass conference table in my father's tech company headquarters. The same table where they'd repeatedly told me my ideas weren't scalable enough for the Larson name. And now here they were, asking me to hand over everything I built to my brother. Ethan needs a legitimate platform, Valerie, my mother Elaine said, reaching across to pat my hand with perfectly manicured fingers. You know how challenging it's been for him since he dropped out of MIT. I pulled my hand away, my chest tightening as I remembered countless sleepless nights building my company from nothing. 4 years ago, I'd started with just $20,000 in savings and a small grant, determined to create AI that could detect early-stage cancer. Now Mediscan Technologies was valued at over $15 million, with partnerships in 3 countries. Challenging for him? I couldn't keep the bitterness from flooding my voice. Ethan hasn't faced a real consequence in his life. He's been living in your Palo Alto mansion for the past 3 years, burning through your investment money on startups that crash before they even launch. My father Theodore cleared his throat, adjusting his Silicon Valley power suit. That's precisely why he needs this opportunity. Your brother has genius-level vision, Valerie. He just needs the right technology stack to execute it. And my company is that technology stack? My laugh felt sharp in my throat. The company I built while juggling 3 side gigs? The one you both dismissed as a niche women's health project? The sting of their rejection flooded back, making my cheeks burn. When I first pitched my AI diagnostic algorithm, Mom had rolled her eyes. Focus on your consulting work, Dad had insisted. Leave the real innovations to your brother. But I hadn't listened. Instead, I'd poured my savings into renting a tiny office in a rundown building and started cold emailing medical researchers. For months, I survived on protein bars and energy drinks, coding until my eyes blurred, working 18-hour days to bring my vision to life. We underestimated your little healthcare app, Mom said, waving her hand dismissively. But now that it's gained traction, imagine what Ethan could do with it. He has connections, charisma. He has nothing, I cut her off, my voice trembling with anger, except your funding and a massively overinflated sense of his own brilliance. Dad's face hardened like granite. Watch your tone, young lady. We're trying to help both of you. Ethan needs direction, and you, well, you've proven women can code too. Isn't that enough? Proven women can code? I stared at him, my stomach dropping as I realized that in their eyes, my success was just a feminist statement, something to get out of my system before accepting my place in their patriarchal tech dynasty. The investors' meeting is next week, Dad continued, sliding a folder across the polished table. We've already discussed with Ethan about integrating your AI into his health platform. All we need is your signature on the technology transfer. My hands trembled as I opened the folder. Inside were technology transfer agreements, already prepared and awaiting my signature. They'd planned this for months. While I was securing hospital partnerships, presenting at medical conferences, and refining our diagnostic algorithms, they were scheming to hand everything over to my unemployed brother. This is completely delusional, I said, closing the folder with a snap. You can't seriously expect me to sign over my technology to someone who couldn't even complete his computer science degree. College credentials are overrated in tech, Mom sniffed, tapping her designer watch. Your brother has natural entrepreneurial instincts. He just needs a viable product to showcase his talents. Like the chance he had with Dad's venture capital fund? Where he lost $500,000 on that failed social media platform? I stood up, my chair rolling back against the glass wall. Or maybe like his cryptocurrency app that turned out to be an elaborate Ponzi scheme? Those were valuable learning experiences, Dad defended, his jaw tight. Ethan has matured since then. I looked around the sleek conference room, taking in the expensive minimalist art, the state-of-the-art presentation screens, the panoramic views of Silicon Valley through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Everything about this space screamed tech privilege, the same privilege that had allowed Ethan to fail upward his entire life while I fought for every single opportunity. I'm not signing anything, I said, my voice firm despite my racing heart. Mediscan is mine. I built it from nothing, without your connections or your seed funding. Mom's face fell into that familiar manipulative expression she used when things weren't going according to her plan. You're being incredibly selfish, Valerie. Think about your brother's potential. What about my potential? I fired back, feeling heat rise in my chest. What about the futures of my developers and researchers who've poured their hearts into making this technology successful? They'll receive generous severance packages, Dad assured me with a dismissive wave. Ethan has some brilliant ideas for restructuring the team. Restructuring? My stomach twisted with dread. You mean firing my diverse, qualified team and replacing them with his Stanford frat brothers? The guilty glance they exchanged told me everything. This wasn't just about giving Ethan another chance. They wanted to transform my company into another playground for their Silicon Valley cronies, another way to maintain their image as tech royalty. Ethan has connections to major investors, Dad explained with condescending patience. People who could take Mediscan beyond the women's health niche. You've done admirable work with the female diagnostic angle, but it's time to scale up. I nearly laughed at the bitter irony. The women's health niche he so casually dismissed had revolutionized early cancer detection in 3 countries. We'd won innovation awards, been featured in major medical journals, and most importantly, saved thousands of women's lives. I'm leaving now, I said, grabbing my laptop bag. And if either of you tries to pressure me about this again, You'll what? Dad's voice turned razor sharp. Remember who you're talking to, Valerie. We're your parents, and we're looking out for Team Larson here. No, I replied, meeting his gaze without flinching. You're looking out for Ethan. You always have. As I strode to my Tesla, my mother's voice echoed across the parking garage. Think about it, Valerie. Team Larson should stick together. Team Larson. The phrase burned in my mind as I drove through the Silicon Valley traffic. They'd never included me on Team Larson when I was struggling, coding through the night while working 3 gigs to fund my startup. Never offered support when I was sleeping on a yoga mat in my cramped office, too exhausted to make it back to my apartment. Never believed in my vision until my success became something they could leverage for Ethan's benefit. Stopped at a red light near San Francisco's Embarcadero, I connected my phone to the car's system and made a video call I should have initiated years ago. Rebecca? It's Valerie. Remember that contingency plan we discussed about intellectual property protection? I think it's time to activate it. My lawyer's face appeared on the dashboard screen, her expression calm but instantly alert. Are they making a move on your patents? They want me to integrate my AI tech into Ethan's latest half-baked app. They've already prepared the transfer documents. Those predictable fools. Rebecca had known my family dynamics for years, had witnessed their pattern of elevating Ethan while minimizing my innovations. Don't worry, we've been preparing for this scenario. Meet me at the Founders Hub tomorrow morning. And Valerie, don't sign a single digital document they send. I won't, I promised, feeling the clarity of purpose replacing my anger. But Rebecca, make it consequential. I want them to remember what happens when they underestimate a woman in tech. As I ended the call, a surge of determination flowed through me. For years, I'd tried to earn my parents' respect, to prove that my approach to healthcare technology could succeed. But now I understood that their approval had never been about my achievements. It had always been about maintaining control over the Larson tech dynasty. Well, they were about to discover they weren't the only ones who understood Silicon Valley power plays. I built Mediscan's algorithms line by line, and I'd fight with everything I had to protect it, not just from Ethan, but from anyone who threatened what our technology could do for patients worldwide. Tomorrow would be transformative. Very transformative indeed. The Founders Hub buzzed with creative energy the next morning. Rebecca had transformed a glass-walled meeting space into our command center. Digital displays illuminated our strategy across multiple screens while holographic data points hovered in the air between us. Her usually immaculate black hair was pulled into a messy bun after working through the night. Your parents made 3 critical strategic errors, she said, highlighting sections of corporate documentation on a shared digital workspace. First, they assumed you wouldn't fight back. Second, they thought their Silicon Valley status would intimidate you. And third, she smiled with fierce intelligence gleaming in her eyes, they completely overlooked who actually owns the AI algorithms. I leaned forward, feeling a surge of hope. The cancer detection neural networks? Precisely. Mediscan's value isn't just the company brand. It's your breakthrough innovations that are patented under your personal name, not the company's. A counter-strategy crystallized in my mind. So even if they somehow engineered a corporate takeover, they'd control an empty shell without the core technology that makes it valuable. Rebecca nodded, swiping to a new document. But we're not letting it get that far. I've already requested an emergency investor meeting and alerted key board members. Your parents might have promised Ethan he could integrate your technology, but they lack the authority to make that decision. Just then, my phone lit up with a notification. A series of texts from Ethan, alongside a LinkedIn post he'd tagged me in. I showed the screen to Rebecca, who nodded. Screenshot everything. I opened his messages. Hey sis, his text dripped with false enthusiasm. Mom and Dad filled me in about merging our ventures. This is the perfect chance for us to dominate the health tech space together. Rebecca was already capturing everything for documentation. There is no us, Ethan. And there won't be any technology transfer. Don't be so stubborn, Val. You know I've always had a natural gift for scaling businesses. With my investor network and your whatever woman's health algorithm you've been coding, we could actually create something significant. My whatever algorithm? I couldn't hold back my bitter laugh. You mean the revolutionary AI diagnostic system that's detecting early-stage breast cancer with 94% accuracy? The same technology you called a cute little science project 2 years ago? There was a long pause, then his response turned hostile. Listen, this integration is happening whether you approve or not. Dad's already talking to his venture capital friends. You can either cooperate and keep some involvement in the project, or fight us and find yourself completely sidelined. Rebecca was methodically documenting every threat, her fingers flying across her tablet. I kept my voice perfectly controlled. Thanks for the warning, Ethan. Good luck with your attempted technology appropriation. I blocked his number before he could respond. Rebecca looked up from her tablet, a determined smile spreading across her face. Well, that was extremely useful, Rebecca said, tapping her screen. Documented threats and clear evidence of conspiracy to seize your technology. Want to completely upend their strategy? She swiped to another display, this one showing verified blockchain patent documentation. I conducted extensive research last night. Your latest diagnostic algorithm, the one that can detect stage 0 breast cancer from standard blood tests? Major healthcare providers are already expressing significant interest in implementing it. Including Memorial Health Systems, I said, recalling the conference call I'd conducted last week. They offered $12 million for exclusive implementation rights. Which you own personally, Rebecca emphasized, enlarging the documentation. Not Mediscan. You made an excellent decision registering these algorithms under your individual name. I smiled, remembering how my father had ridiculed my paranoid insistence on separating intellectual property from company assets. Always maintain a contingency strategy, I quoted, throwing his favorite Silicon Valley mantra back at him. Well, your contingency strategy just became our knockout move. If they attempt to force you out, you can simply walk away with the algorithms that give Mediscan its market value. They'll be left with nothing but an empty corporate shell and some slick branding assets. My phone lit up with another notification, this time a lengthy email from my father. The subject line read, Final Notice, Team Larson Decision. Inside was a barely disguised threat about family business loyalty and the consequences of opposing their vision. They still think they're dealing with the intimidated young woman who once desperately sought their validation, I said, archiving the email without responding. Time to show them who I've become. Rebecca began organizing our digital assets into secure cloud storage. The emergency investor meeting is scheduled for tomorrow morning. Your parents will attempt to stack it with their allies, but they've completely misjudged how many investors genuinely value what you've built. They never took the time to understand my technology, I agreed, feeling a strange calm replacing my anger. Too preoccupied with funding Ethan's next doomed venture. Speaking of Ethan, Rebecca paused, showing me her screen. He's been extremely active this morning. 3 direct messages to major investors, attempting to convince them you're experiencing a mental health crisis and need to be removed for the company's stability. My heart raced with fury, but I maintained my professional demeanor. Any success with his smear campaign? Even better than we hoped. Rebecca's smile widened. 2 investors immediately forwarded his messages to me. Apparently, trying to discredit the CEO who's tripled their investment returns doesn't align with their financial interests. As we concluded our strategy session, my executive assistant appeared in the doorway. "Ms. Larson, there's something urgent you need to address immediately." She handed me her tablet, displaying our company's internal communication platform. Ethan had somehow obtained admin access and was sending messages to all team members, introducing himself as the incoming Chief Innovation Officer and outlining his plans for necessary team optimization. "He's deliberately creating internal panic," Rebecca observed. "Attempting to make your developers and researchers fear for their positions so they'll consider supporting his integration plan." I thought about my team, the brilliant people who'd believed in my vision when it was just lines of code, who'd worked through countless weekends to help build Mediscan into what it was today. The thought of Ethan swooping in and dismantling everything we'd created made my chest tighten with protective fury. "Morgan," I turned to my assistant, "schedule an all-hands virtual meeting." Immediately. 20 minutes later, I faced my team on the large video conference screen, their concerned expressions visible in a grid of video feeds. Many had screenshots of Ethan's messages displayed in their virtual backgrounds. "By now, you've all received notifications from Ethan Larson claiming he's becoming Chief Innovation Officer," I began, my voice steady and resolute. "I want to be completely transparent with you about what's really happening." I explained the situation in detail, my parents' attempt to force me out, Ethan's undermining tactics, and most importantly, my comprehensive plan to protect our company and technology. As I spoke, I could see the anxiety in their faces transforming into collective determination. Mediscan was built on breakthrough innovation, ethical integrity, and the brilliant work of every person in this virtual room, I concluded, feeling my passion rise. No one is going to appropriate what we've created. Not my brother, not my parents, not anyone in Silicon Valley. The chat exploded with supportive messages and virtual applause emojis. Adrian, my development team leader, unmuted himself. "We're behind you 100%, Valerie. This team stands together." I caught Rebecca's eye in her video tile and nodded. It was time to implement phase 2 of our strategy. After ending the meeting, I initiated a secure video call I'd been strategically waiting to make. "Dr. Reynolds at Memorial Health?" About our discussion regarding exclusive implementation of the early detection algorithm, I believe I'm ready to finalize terms. The morning of the investor meeting, I arrived early to find my parents already in the hybrid conference room, huddled with Ethan and 2 investor representatives I recognized as Dad's venture capital associates. They all looked up when I entered, Ethan's confident smirk visibly faltering when he saw Rebecca walking in behind me. "This is a closed strategy session," Dad said sharply. "Your attorney's presence isn't necessary here." Rebecca smiled professionally, setting her tablet on the polished conference table. "Actually, as legal counsel for both Ms. Larson and Mediscan Technologies, my attendance is not only appropriate but legally required, given the nature of today's agenda items." I took my position at the head of the table, watching as other investors joined both in person and via video screens mounted on the walls. Most acknowledged me with respectful nods, though a few seemed to strategically avoid eye contact. I knew Dad had been working his network, calling in favors and making promises. Once everyone was connected, I called the meeting to order. Before Dad could interject, I stood up. Before we proceed, I need to address the situation that necessitated this emergency meeting. My parents and brother have coordinated an attempt to remove me as CEO and transfer my AI technology to Ethan Larson, who has zero experience in medical technology or any successful business ventures whatsoever. Ethan started to object, but I raised my hand firmly. I'm not finished. In the past 48 hours, Ethan has unlawfully accessed our company communication systems, made false claims to employees about leadership changes, and attempted to manipulate investors with fabricated concerns about my mental stability. The investors shifted uncomfortably in both physical and virtual seats. One of Dad's allies, Dr. Wright, cleared her throat. While these allegations are troubling, we're here to discuss Mediscan's strategic direction. Your father has presented some persuasive arguments about fresh leadership approach. Fresh leadership? I interrupted, nodding to Rebecca, who began sharing detailed financial documents to every screen and tablet. Let's examine actual leadership results. You're now viewing Mediscan's complete performance history under my direction. For years of consistent growth, 5 major algorithm patents, and a current valuation of $15 million. I activated a holographic display that floated in the center of the room, commanding everyone's attention. You're also viewing documentation of every startup venture Ethan has launched in the past 5 years. Total losses, approximately $5 million of our parents' investment capital. This is completely unfair. Ethan erupted, his face flushing with anger. Those were essential learning experiences in the startup ecosystem. Learning experiences? I swiped to display detailed failure analyses. Like the cryptocurrency app that cost investors $500,000? Or perhaps the social media platform for luxury yacht owners that somehow never developed a functional app? Mom stood up abruptly, her designer bracelet catching the light. We're not here to dissect Ethan's past ventures. We're here to discuss Mediscan's scaling strategy. Precisely, I transitioned to the next visualization. Let's examine that scaling strategy. Specifically, the future of our core diagnostic algorithms. A tense silence descended over the room as my meaning became clear. Rebecca stepped forward, sharing a blockchain-verified document to all screens. As clearly documented here, she stated with professional precision, the neural network algorithms powering Mediscan's diagnostic technology are registered personally to Valerie Larson, not to the company. This includes the breakthrough early detection system that's generating such significant healthcare industry attention. Dad's face drained of color. This is completely unacceptable. Those algorithms belong to Mediscan. Actually, Rebecca continued without missing a beat, Ms. Larson was meticulously clear in her patent and copyright registrations. The algorithms are her intellectual property, licensed to Mediscan under her leadership. Any leadership transition would immediately terminate that licensing agreement. The conference room erupted in concerned discussion. Dr. Wright leaned forward, her confident demeanor suddenly shaken. What precisely are you communicating here? I met her gaze unflinchingly. I'm stating that if this board votes to remove me as CEO, I will withdraw the technology that gives this company its value. And I already have licensing offers from multiple healthcare providers who are eager to implement these algorithms. Ethan leapt to his feet, sending his chair rolling into the wall. This is pure extortion. You can't hold the board hostage like this. It's not extortion, I replied with deliberate calm. It's strategic business planning. Isn't that what you claim to excel at? Dad was gripping the edge of the table so tightly I could see his knuckles whitening. Valerie, consider what you're doing. This company represents the Larson family's future in healthcare technology. No, I said with quiet intensity. This company represents my vision. I built it while you were funding Ethan's failed ventures. I worked around the clock while you told your Silicon Valley friends I was wasting my Stanford degree. I turned it into a life-saving technology while you plotted to hand it over to someone who doesn't even understand how neural networks function. I turned to address the entire room, both physical and virtual participants. The choice is straightforward. Either we continue with the leadership and innovation that's proven successful, or you can have Ethan, without the algorithms, without the patents, and without me. The room fell completely silent. I could see investors exchanging meaningful glances, obviously calculating their potential losses. Even Dad's closest allies appeared visibly concerned. Dr. Wright cleared her throat deliberately. I moved to suspend any discussion of leadership restructuring and maintain current executive management. Seconded, said another investor immediately. The vote was unanimously in my favor. As the investors disconnected and left the room, several stopping to express their continued support, I caught a glimpse of my parents' reactions. Mom looked like she'd just tasted something incredibly bitter. Dad couldn't bring himself to meet my gaze. And Ethan, he was already absorbed in his phone, undoubtedly plotting his next scheme. Rebecca gathered her digital files, smiling with satisfaction. That was impressively effective. Celebration dinner? I shook my head, watching my family leave without acknowledging me. Thanks, but I have something more meaningful planned. There's a promising healthcare AI startup I've been mentoring. 2 brilliant female engineers with groundbreaking technology but zero funding. I'm thinking of investing some of my personal capital, help them navigate the obstacles I had to overcome. She nodded with understanding. Creating your own legacy on your own terms. Exactly, I smiled, gathering my devices. After all, isn't that what true innovation is all about? 1 year after the investors' meeting showdown, I found myself on stage at the Women in Tech Leadership Awards, holding the crystal trophy they'd just presented me. Mediscan had tripled in value over the past year, thanks to our implementation partnership with Memorial Health Systems and expanding presence in healthcare facilities across 3 continents. The headline in Tech Innovator magazine captured it perfectly: Mediscan Technologies, revolutionizing early cancer detection through AI. A notification on my smartwatch interrupted my post-ceremony reflections. Morgan? My assistant approached discreetly. Your mother's in the reception area. She doesn't have an invitation to the event. I felt a flutter of surprise in my chest. Show her to the private lounge. Mom looked different, less imposing somehow, without her usual Silicon Valley power stance. She hesitated in the doorway before taking a seat across from me. Your company has evolved remarkably, she said, glancing around at the Medical Innovation Awards and algorithm patents displayed on digital frames. Very impressive operation. It's been this way for years, I replied, feeling old frustrations stirring. You just never made time to see it before. She fidgeted with her luxury clutch, visibly uncomfortable. Ethan's launching a new educational technology startup. With a brilliant programmer he met at his support group. Her coding expertise complements his? Mom, I interrupted, tired of the same old pattern. Why are you at my awards ceremony? She took a deep breath. We're hosting a venture capital pitch event next month. Your father and we'd like you to be on the judging panel. I studied her face carefully, searching for manipulation or ulterior motives. Does Ethan know you're asking me? It was his idea, actually. She extracted a digital invitation from her purse. After everything that happened, he's changed significantly. The executive coaching has been transformative for him. That genuinely surprised me. Executive coaching? Your father arranged it after the investor meeting. Said it was time Ethan confronted his patterns. Her lips curved into a tentative smile. He's working in product development now. Entry-level position. No family advantages. I couldn't suppress a disbelieving laugh. Dad must have struggled with that decision. He's evolving too. She placed the invitation on the table between us. We all are. Sometimes it takes nearly losing everything to recognize what truly matters. I glanced at the invitation but didn't open it. And what exactly did you lose, Mom? Our daughter, she said softly. Our brilliant, innovative daughter who built something extraordinary while we were too entrenched in outdated thinking to appreciate it. Her words hung in the space between us. Part of me wanted to dismiss them, to hold on to the resentment that had fueled my determination for so long. But another part recognized the emotional toll of carrying that anger. "I'll consider it," I said finally. The judging panel. "But I'm not committing to anything yet." She nodded, standing to leave. At the door, she paused. "That female-founded healthcare startup you backed, Femtech Solutions. I read about them in the Silicon Valley Journal. They said you were the only investor who truly understood both the technology and market potential." "Sometimes innovators just need someone who believes in their vision," I replied, thinking of all the times I'd longed for that belief from my own family. After she left, I returned to my tablet and opened the latest update from Femtech Solutions, the women's health startup I'd invested in. Their AI diagnostic platform was exceeding clinical trial expectations, and they'd already attracted interest from major healthcare providers. But most meaningfully, they'd created 11 new jobs, providing opportunities to female engineers who reminded me of myself 4 years ago. My phone lit up with a message from Rebecca. "Saw your mother at the ceremony. Are you all right?" I responded, "Better than all right. I think I finally received what I've wanted from them all along." The validation? No. Recognition. I gazed through the floor-to-ceiling windows at San Francisco's glittering skyline, thinking about the determined but uncertain woman who'd started this company with nothing but $20,000 and a revolutionary algorithm. She'd been seeking approval in all the wrong places, measuring achievement by her family's metrics instead of the lives her technology was saving. The digital invitation glowed unopened on my tablet. Perhaps I would participate in their venture capital event, not to prove anything to them, but to demonstrate to myself the journey I'd completed. After all, true innovation wasn't just about creating technology. It was about transforming yourself. My watch vibrated with another message from Morgan. "The medical research team from Women's Health Initiative is waiting for the mentorship program you're launching." "I'll be right there," I replied, feeling a surge of purpose. It was time to help other women build their own innovations, their own way. After all, that's what authentic leadership meant.